This is actually a little bit different, and it tries to take on board some of the shortcomings which people identified with other makes of magnetic couplings and tries to address them. Hello there everyone, I hope I find you well this fine day, and do excuse me if I sound really tired and a little bit under the weather. The reason for this, as some of you know who've been following on the Facebook group, I'm currently getting over a dose of the shingles, which is particularly nasty, especially when you're an adult, but certainly thanks for your well wishes, and I am on the mend even if I'm not back up to 100%. But onwards and upwards. I know you're really looking forward to the new videos that we've got coming out. So this is a product review of a new product that's come through from a smaller manufacturer, which I'm not familiar with. They are GLI Bespoke Services Limited, and they're actually based in Wales. And it's a similar train of thought to the magnetic couplings that we reviewed some time back, and it's always great to see different takes on solving problems from other manufacturers. So I'm really pleased to have been sent these for review, and we're going to be delving into these and seeing how well they perform. So without further ado, and in association with the channel sponsor Trainomatic, makers and designers of DCC decoders that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts and are the first choice for any and every model rail locomotive, we're going to go and take a closer look. Come with me and I'll enjoy your company. This is actually a little bit different, and it tries to take on board some of the shortcomings which people identified with other makes of magnetic couplings and tries to address them. So they're called NEM. I've got the leaflet here, I'll show you a nice close-up of that, and they are available in a variety of different scales, but also to suit not just NEM pocket wagons and coaches and locomotives, but also they have kits to be able to convert older rolling stock to this magnetic coupling principle, and they also do O-gauge as well. And there are some forthcoming products as well which look particularly interesting for DCC control, which does address the last major area that people voiced some degree of concern over when it came to shunting, and that does look an interesting product. But that's not the subject of today's review. We're going to delve in now, and I've pre-fitted these to a rake of coaches. These are the Hornbeat Teaks. Now this particular rake and this livery, I've always kept them together as a set of 5, but they've always been a little bit disappointing runners. They've had a propensity to derail. They were left fitted with the standard tension lock couplings, and as a result they've never really seen a lot of use. And I thought that they would be the perfect hostile test bed to really test these couplings to the extreme. And I've gone ahead and I've fitted some of the couplings that they've sent over to these 5 coaches so that they can run together as a semi-fixed rake with ordinary couplings front and back, so that they can couple onto additional rolling stock or the locomotives as well. Now I've had these running now for a couple of days, and you may also have noticed them on one of the Monday clubs trundling around in the background. And I do like to stress test a lot of these products by leaving them running for hours and hours, and actually when doing that, the first test of these couplings, they did hold up incredibly well. So I've got here some of the unused couplings that came in retail packaging, and what I'm going to focus on is the variety that I have actually tested. So what we can see here is that they come as pairs with the little tails which go into the NEM pockets, and they are twin magnets on each end rather than a single one. And what this means is that they aren't actually polarity specific. You've got a north and a south pole next to each other, such that north always goes to south and south always goes to north, regardless of whether you turn them around in the train. And this is an area which actually we did identify with other couplings on the market, and it's nice to see that somebody's put a lot of thought into how that they can easily get around that. So that's the first really big plus point. But I'm going to let the models speak for themselves with these couplings attached. I'm going to run through what I have found in actually using these couplings. Now I've got these coaches all fitted up, and as you can see, I'm going to show you just how I fitted them. So you can see there on the end in the NEM pocket, I have fitted these couplings in. And we're going to be talking about this in the review, but you can see that they are actually free to slide right back in that NEM pocket. And what that means is that we're going to get a very, very close coupling, but they can extend back out as required if they're pulled out by the magnetic attraction. Once the magnets have attracted, they are actually pretty strongly attached, and this whole coupling bar can then slide backwards and forwards so that we can actually get a prototypically close coupling going on between these. Of course, you're then at the limits of what these coaches were actually designed to look like, and the gangway connectors are going to be actually what they're rubbing on. So there are other limitations which therefore come into play. Now I'm going to roll these back up, and then I'm going to show you the big party trick which these couplings bring to the market, which some of the offerings from other companies have struggled a bit, and that's with the magnet polarity. Because we've got two magnets there, what it means is if I unplug this coach and I'm going to pick it up and turn it around, and then they will just couple back up. The polarity is not an issue. So you can make up a train much more readily without having to think about which way round all of the items of rolling stock go. This makes them more flexible for when you're actually making up trains. One of the downsides which I have spotted with these is, and I'm going to set this up on the track. So we've got the two coaches here, and if I bring them together you can see, boom, the magnets do grab, and there we have it, nicely close coupled. But now this can be used to your advantage, or it can become a disadvantage. It's up to you to decide. Because these can now move in the NEM pocket, they can get pushed back, and what I've found is that when you bring these coaches close together, those magnets are too far apart to actually grab. You may think at first glance that that is a disadvantage, and in certain circumstances that could be seen as such, but let me just put this out there. This does mean that without having to remove the couplings, you can now shunt wagons carefully and pull the train away and leave a wagon where you want it to go, so you can use these to your advantage. It's up to you to decide really how you want to use them. If you do get into this situation, then what you're going to have to do is to actually tease out those magnets, and then they will grab and you're back to where you need to be. So I do think that these have a lot of advantages. There are certain areas where there are disadvantages, but overall I think I'm quite liking these. I think they address some of the criticisms of other magnetic couplings on the market, but it all comes as a little bit of a trade-off to some degree, in that it introduces a couple of new issues, and I'm going to demonstrate this now. This piece of track is quite a challenge. It's on a tight curve and a 4% gradient, so the train will be moving in all manner of different angles, and we can see here, if I push these along, they don't quite buffer lock, but we can see there is a risk on tighter track of that occurring. Elsewhere on this layout I have got some curves where It's difficult to film, but the coach stock is derailing because of buffer lock, and it's just something to watch out for. The running characteristics is pretty good. These coaches have never been the most reliably running rake with the tension locks that they come with as standard. One of the other things that I'm seeing as well, certainly towards the back of the train, more pronounced so, is that those couplings, because they can move in the NEM pocket, they actually close couple the coaches. So as you can see, if we look between the first two, they're pulled apart slightly. But then as we go further down the train, they get closer and closer together. And these at the back, they're actually fully closely coupled. And that is a nice fringe benefit, I guess, from being able to slide in the NEM pocket. Now, I've had these running for quite some time, and running forwards, absolutely fine. I have no qualms whatsoever. I've tried running them at full speed, slow speed, and they perform really, really well. So, plus points, that close coupling mechanism does seem to work quite well. Of course, if you have a very long train with a lot of drag, it will tend to pull them back apart, but no more so than if they'd been a fixed coupling. So I think that for a lot of people, especially if you're running shorter trains, is a very good benefit. I know with some of the other magnetic couplings on the market, that had been a point that was raised. I'm going to try reversing them now up a 4% incline. So you can see here that so far they do seem to be running reasonably well. When it comes to running them in reverse, what you can see happens is that all of the gaps close up in the coaches, and it does make them look prototypically really great. I can imagine that if you're running something like a Class 91 DVT, a combination with all the coaches in between, with the 91 at the back pushing the entire rake, you're going to get this fabulous close coupling mechanism. However, be warned, this now relies on the actual buffers of the rolling stock itself. So what you may find is that if your curves are not generous enough, you will experience actual buffer lock. And that is something which I know that some of the other magnetic couplings on the market don't have the same problem. So these kind of give you that close coupling, but at the sacrifice of the minimum radius that they can go round. That said, Weiryard does have reasonably generous curves on the main three lines, so I've not really had any great problems there. What it does come to is when we put them round a very steep corner. As we can see, that can sometimes be a little bit of an issue. I can hear those coaches protesting. Of course, this is an extreme test, and it would be difficult for an awful lot of different couplings to work across all of these, and we've got some quite tight radius curves up there, and I can hear that they've been pushed off the track. So I'm going to stop the train and let's just go and investigate what actually happened. And it does appear that on the tight corners, buffer lock has become an issue, and it's caused that coach to come off the track. But this is something that you wouldn't normally do, and I have to say as a caveat that tension lock couplings as well would struggle, but for different reasons. They tend to ride over the top of each other. Now there are other couplings on the market such as KDs, and also the close coupling mechanism that these coaches do come with from Hornby, which would probably fare a little bit better, but at the compromise of being quite bulky and holding those coaches much further apart. So with a lot of these things, it swings and roundabouts. You have to ask yourself, what is it that you are looking to achieve? And if close coupling for you is the most important, then these couplings do seem to offer the benefits of the magnetic coupling, but also giving that close coupling that people have been craving. Well, there you go. I'm really pleased to have been given the opportunity to road test these couplings, and certainly the ones that have been sent over have performed really well. With the different lengths of those NEM couplings being provided with short, medium and long, I found that actually they should be good for pretty much any rolling stock that you wish to throw them at. Although what I would say is that the very short ones did seem too short for the rolling stock which I had to hand, and were much more at risk of causing buffer lock. So I've gone with the medium and the long. But of course, when you buy these, it's very easy to just specify the lengths that you want and just buy those. So no real problems there. Would I recommend these products? Actually, yes, I would. I've been really impressed with these magnetic couplings in the past as well. They seem like a really great idea, and they are a new take on a solution for those tension lock couplings that we've been struggling with for decades. So certainly I think that these are going to find a great niche in the market, and judging by the popularity that magnetic couplings have generated in recent months, I think that these are rightly so going to be very successful. Well, I hope you found this video informative. Don't forget to tickle that like button and also share it to let other people know about some of these great products that we are reviewing on the channel. And also, if you've not already done so, subscribe to the channel. You'll be the first to know about new videos as and when they go up. And a big thank you to GLR Bespoke Services Limited for sending over these couplings to allow me to put them through the mill and through actually what was quite a very rigorous test. So if you do decide to go down this route, we've got a link down below which links you direct to that company so you can pick up a set for yourself. But until next time, this is me, Jenny Kirk, saying you take really great care of yourself. Bye for now. Today's video is sponsored by Train-O-Matic, makers of DCC decoders designed to be fully compatible with every manufacturer's locomotive. Visit train-o-matic.com to browse the full range and see what they've got suitable for you. I'd like to send out a huge thanks to everybody who supports me on Patreon, and an extra special huge thanks goes out to Anthony Kidson, Michael Churchwood, Anthony Hunt, William Wade, Wayne Johns, Offshore Allen, oorail.co.uk, Tepic, Michael Lockie, Helen Sink, Peter Bolton, Brian Smith, Brian and Dorothy Mudd, Gary Lewis, David Quinn, Trish Bits, Sparky 107107, George Botterini, and Andy Finch. Thank you. Without you guys, I couldn't do this.